Was very good. That was great. That was great, Tom. Thank you. Thank you. It was just what I ordered. Just what the minister ordered.
I wrote that song.
You wrote that song?
Mm-hmm. We all wrote that song.
Yeah. We all wrote this book.
That's right.
This week is on the law of abundance. The universal law of abundance. Talk, I believe it's called, I think I called it abundance. What's it called? Abundance for those who will receive. Abundance for those who will receive. It's not that there's an absence of abundance. It's not that there is a lack of abundance. It's that it's here if I will receive it. As Tom was singing, I was thinking about certain things and I thought, when did prestige come in? You know, who got a bigger cave? You know, when did my esteem become based on on having a bigger cave than my neighbor? When did my esteem, my abundance, my perception of abundance start happening by how I was afraid my neighbors might perceive me, how my friends might perceive me? How you know, the guy down the road in the brush would perceive me, the bigger hut. I've told this joke before. I don't know why I'm telling it now, but it occurs to me. It's such a silly thing. It's about a man who was he was abandoned on a desert island, and he was there for several years. And when they finally found him, he was there all by himself. They got there and they were shocked at how built up the island was. But what most impressed them were these 3 buildings at the top of the hill. And they looked at them and they said, well, what are those 3 buildings? And he said, oh, well, the one in the middle, that's my house. And he said, well, it's beautiful. That's really impressive. You built that. And he said, well, what's the one on the right? And he said, oh, well, that's my church. That's incredible. And he said, what's that beautiful building on the left? He said, oh, that's the church I used to go to. I know, it's so silly. Just say what comes to mind. Abundance for those who will receive. But what is abundance? Is my abundance based on your idea of me, your thought of me? Is your abundance based on my thought of you? No. That's the answer. No, it isn't. My abundance is based on the reality of God. That's what it's, my abundance, my good. Yesterday in the class in the city, I was talking to them about our thinking. And realizing that, and I've talked about this here before, we are still praying to get what we already have. We pray for peace. Well, there's no absence of peace. I've just blocked it out of my consciousness. I pray for understanding. I pray for wisdom. I pray for strength. I pray for power. I pray for love. As if I don't have all of the love I'm ever going to have, all of the peace I'm ever going to have, all of the joy I'm ever going to... I pray for it as if it is somehow absent, as if God could give it to me now. Instead of sitting down quietly and taking on the thought, wait a minute, I already have peace. I already have joy. I already have wisdom. I already have understanding. I already have love. I have all of it that I'm ever going to have. Now, how am I using it? Am I using it or am I misusing it? Am I using my wisdom or am I misusing my wisdom? Am I using my faith or am I misusing my faith? Am I using my power or am I misusing my power? When I was initiated into Reiki several years ago, the first time through the level 1, there were 4 initiations. At the end of each one, she said, and you have this power to use for good. Oh, I was suddenly informed of what to use my power for. I was to use it for good. And she didn't say, you were to use it to get a new car, you use it to get rich, you use it to impress your friends and your neighbors, you to use it for good. what does that tell me? Well, it'll tell you what it tells me, and the same thing I'm going to tell you. First, you seek the kingdom to find out how to use your power. What's the purpose of your power? You seek first the kingdom. We've talked about this so many times lately. But you seek first the kingdom to make any decision, to decide what it is you're seeking. Because, let's face it, if I don't seek first the kingdom, I'm likely to see lack. I'm likely to see what's missing. I'm likely to see something that will upset me if I don't seek first the kingdom. If I don't seek to agree with God on what's going on in front of me. And I'm here to tell you, I don't care what Bible you've read it in, I don't care what book you've read it in, God is not seeing bad. God does not see what's wrong with this world. God sees the love that I am. God sees that I cannot lose. God sees what my neighbor is. God sees what all my friends are. God sees what all the people I don't like are. And God sees them as God beings. That's the only way that God can see. Because you see, if God could see the problem, we'd have a real problem on our hands. If God could perceive that there is something wrong, that there is something missing, we'd really have a problem on our hands. There would be no hope. And so, as I've said before, seek to agree with God very quickly. Seek to see as God sees. That's your abundance. That's my abundance. Do not seek to maintain your humiliation as if that will make you more worthy in God's eyes. Do not seek to maintain your guilt as if that will make you more worthy in God's eyes. Do not seek for false humility as if that will make you more worthy in God's eyes. Though anybody here who has ever tried to get into just a human relationship by self-deprecation has probably found out it didn't work so well. So how do you think that gets you back into the kingdom? Through self-deprecation. Through hating yourself as if that will make you more desirable. I remember once at a group meeting I heard a woman say, I have taken on a new rule. I will not say anything bad about myself till after the third date. I thought that's a great idea. You know, don't pour all your misery on somebody on the first date and say, now love me, I dare you. The wisdom that woman had that night, when I heard that, it's like, oh, I don't have to pour myself loathing on the world. And it's, oh, please like me. I'm a terrible person. I'm a terrible person. I'm a terrible person. I'm a terrible person.
What's going to happen on that third date?
After the third date. But by then, perhaps you're sharing. Rather than, well, don't say dumping. I was going to say vomiting, but spewing. Listen to this. The universal law of abundance. The law of abundance states that the natural order of the universe is abundance. Do we hear that? Take this information home with you. Take it to work with you. The natural order of the universe is abundance. Well, what does that mean? If I'm not seeing abundance, I'm not living within the natural order of the universe. That's all it means. It's not good or bad. It just means if I'm not seeing abundance, then I'm not agreeing with God today. That's what it is. And so then you go within, you say, so how could I agree with God? Not why am I not agreeing with God, but how could I agree with God? Practical, practical, practical. So the natural order of the universe is abundance. This is not a world of need and shortages. Which really, if you're looking with your ego's eyes out into the world, we see need and shortage everywhere, don't we? The papers say it, the gas station says it, so many places say it. But here I am telling you, this is not a world of need and shortages. So it must tell me, I have been lying to myself about need and shortage. I must have been wrong. about need and shortage. Thank goodness. I was wrong. Celebrate now. We were all wrong every time we've ever talked about need and shortage. That's all it is, not good or bad. We've just been wrong. We were mistaken. You've been mistaken before, haven't you? And realized it? Oh, I was mistaken. That's all it was. There were the keys this whole time. Nobody stole my keys. Mind creates negative conditions just as readily as favorable ones. And it is through negative thinking that we create shortages in our lives. The laws are in constant operation and are relentless. The laws bring exactly what is created in thought. Jesus expresses the law of abundance when he says that God does not ration the benefits of living in the light. The divine expression of God's love can be received by those who can receive it. Jesus says because he was able to receive it, abundance was his in everything. Awareness can bring those who are especially dead to the light. Or not especially, spiritually dead to the light. That's very different, isn't it? See, that's what happened to the Bible. Those people rewrote the Bible, all the scribes, and we got different meanings. Wow. That's good stuff. Comedy. The ability of the individual to think is his ability to harmonize with universal laws and act upon universal being, which brings abundance into manifestation. Chopra writes, our true nature is one of affluence and abundance. We are naturally affluent because nature supports every need and desire. We lack nothing because our essential nature is one of pure potentiality and infinite possibilities. No matter what we think, we create. Being sparks of the Creator. When we understand the law of pure potentiality, we too are able to create productively and abundantly. When we understand all the universal laws, we will know how to transcend even the moral issues which seem most intractable. So what does it, when we understand the universal laws? Well, guess what? Get understanding them. If you want to manifest effortlessly, then get understanding on manifestation. How simple is that? How simple is that? Get understanding. See, I can't come to your home and give you understanding. I could send letters every week. It will not give you understanding. You must claim the understanding by going within. By going within and knowing, I know. I know. If God knows, then I know. It's kind of that. If God knows, then I know. So we're creating with an idea. See, we see something and it looks what we would call bad. And so we take on the thought, it must be bad, rather than going to God and saying, God, it's not possible for this to be bad. Tell me what this is. Tell me how to see this correctly, how to see this accurately. Because if I judge it unto myself, I'm going to create something I don't want again. When my life started getting what I would call good, is when I stopped telling God what it was. When I stopped telling God what the world was, when I stopped telling God what I was, when I stopped telling God what you were, and I started listening. I started asking, God, what is all this? What am I? What are these people? What are my thoughts about these people? What ought I be thinking about these people? What ought I think about this event? What ought I think about money? What should I think about my work? What should I think about my play? What should I think about my thoughts? When I go, you see, that's seeking the kingdom. I want the answers from the kingdom rather than my ego, rather than my mother, rather than my grandmother, rather than Adam and Eve. Let's take it all the way back. Rather than you. Your thoughts are merely an influence, a guide. My thoughts are merely a guide for you. I do not lay down the law here. I merely talk about the law. You don't see me with a chisel and a stone in the office putting those laws in there. Come into my office. You will not find stone and chisel. And then I come out here on Sunday morning and tell you the law of Shawn. It's not the laws, Shawn. I am seeking to enlist everybody who wants to participate in getting greater understanding of universal laws. Who read my Wednesday email this week? Okay, we're looking to have a fast. We're looking for a metaphysical fast, a metaphysical Lent, to experience Lent. Lent started this past Wednesday. Yes, yes. And it's a Lent, the time of Lent is a time of fasting. But in New Thought, I learned that it is fasting from something that does not work for you. What does not work for you, what does not work for me, is gossip, criticism, and complaining. It doesn't work. It will not help to maintain my highest spirit, my highest willingness to continue to seek first the kingdom. And so to have a fast during this time. And so I sent out I had no intentions of doing it this year. And Monday night, I was having a class in the city with some friends, and I happened to mention, Lent is in 2 days. I said, I don't want to do that. And they said, oh no, let's do it. And I thought, well, that's good advice. Let's do it. Let's have this fast from gossip, criticism, and complaining. One friend of mine wrote to me that day and said, I can't have you to my house for the Oscars. I'm sorry, because you'll just be a killjoy. And so we, but in this, it's funny, isn't it? That's true. It's just been agony since Wednesday, though. I didn't realize just how critical I am lately. It's, man, when you're looking to not criticize the stuff that you see in the world that is just wrong. But you see, you have to be doing something else. If you're creating the vacuum of the fast, you can't just have, because we know what nature thinks of the vacuum, so something's got to fill it. Well, if you don't fill it with what you want, what you don't want is just going to come pour right back in there. And so you must fill it with praise and thanksgiving. Praise and thanksgiving. And some stuff has come up that it's been very difficult for me to have praise and thanksgiving this week. And it's like, the very best I've been able to do in some of it is, I'm willing to know this is good, but man, I don't like it. I don't care for this. And I thought, okay. Just breathe, observe, and seek another way of thinking. Seek another way of commenting. Because does the world need our proclamations about what's wrong with the world? Will that lift the world up out of? Do you know what watching the news does for me? It convinces me that the world is a bad place. It convinces me that politicians are bad. It convinces me that I am bad. Because you see, if I see bad, I must be bad. How could I recognize bad if I weren't it? Because you got to understand something. You're the creator of what you experience. And so if you look out into the world and you call it bad, how could you be aware of bad if you weren't bad? That is the Adam and Eve story. They created bad, according to our teachers. Now, New Thought teachers often call that experience original blessing rather than original sin. That this knowledge, they ate from the tree of knowledge. The tree of knowledge of good and evil. But what it is they ate from the tree of knowledge of duality. They created something that didn't exist before in this duality. This belief that there is good and there is bad, there is you, there is me, there is them, there is us. And so I'm living in a world of danger. I've got an abundance of danger. I've got an abundance of people out to get me. I've got an abundance of people I've got to get before they get me. I've got an abundance of people, and then I've got this pocket of good. Look at your life, some of you. You've got a pocket of good and a whole big trunk filled with the bad. A whole big trunk filled with those bad drivers. Your parents, your grandparents, your money, your work, your friends, your relationships. And there's a pocket, just a small change purse of good. And we're holding on to that change purse of good for dear life. Unless you have made a decision that I choose life. I'm not going to hold on to it. How could I hold on to what is in abundance? So the change purse grows to a wallet, to a tote bag. Just suddenly you have a trunk, a whole trunk of good and a whole trunk of bad. But the trunk of bad is getting emptier and emptier and emptier because the bad became overwhelming. I couldn't afford my bad anymore. You just can't afford your bad. It's so expensive. Gosh, bad is expensive, isn't it? Oh man, it cost you your dignity. It cost you your relationships. It costs you your money. The bad can cost us our home. It can cost us our life. The bad. And so the bad just got to be too expensive. So it's like, okay, I'm going to put this trunk of bad way back in the attic. And I'm just going to open the trunk of good and see what happens here. This trunk of good will now be my abundance. You're deciding what your abundance is. Tom's saying, what would I do for one more, if I had one more day? Would I make the same choices with one more day, would I make these same choices, or would I ask for a new thought? Would I seek to have a new thought on this one more day? Because that's what you'll have. That's what I have. Each of us have one more day. We're acting like we have weeks and months. Day. One day. This is the day. This is the day the Lord hath made. This one. What are you going to do with this day? Are you going to get together and complain about the day? Are you going to get together and criticize this one and this one and this one and what's wrong with this one? And all in the name of God, of course. But, are you going to get together today and hate yourself? Are you going to sit alone today and hate yourself because you have one more day? Or are you going to receive the abundance that is? Are you going to tell yourself any thought of fear you have to say, that's not real? I'm going to have a different thought. Any thought of lack you have today to say, that's not real. I'm going to have a different thought. Any thought of what's missing is that's not real. I'm going to have a different thought. I'm going to walk with God today. I agree with God today. Today is the day that the Lord hath made. God is sending out a divine invitation to each and every one of us to recognize what is. Put those other thoughts aside. Put them in yesterday. But in this one more day, agree with God and accept, receive the abundance that is every divine thought, every opportunity to see love, to see light, to see the good that you are, that your brother is, your sister is. The good that is. Remember where you can put the other thoughts. Put them in yesterday. Thank you so much.